the copy of the testament of Reuben, even the commands which he gave his sons before he died in the 125th year of his life. 2 years after the death of Joseph his brother, when Reuben fell ill, his sons and his sons' sons were gathered together to visit him. And he said to them, My children, behold, I am dying, and go the way of my fathers. And seeing there Judah and Gad and Asher his brethren, he said to them, Raise me up, that I may tell to my brethren and to my children what things I have hidden in my heart. For behold, now at length I am passing away. And he arose and kissed them, and said unto them, Hear, my brethren, and do ye, my children, give ear to Reuben your father, in the commands which I give unto you. And behold, I call to witness against you this day the God of heaven, that ye walk not in the sins of youth and fornication, wherein I was poured out, and defiled the bed of my father Jacob. And I tell you that he smote me with a sore plague in my loins for 7 months. And had not my father Jacob prayed for me to the Lord would have destroyed me. For I was 30 years old when I wrought that evil before the Lord, and for 7 months I was sick unto death. And after this I repented with set purpose of my soul, for 7 years before the Lord. And wine and strong drink I drank not, and the flesh entered not into my mouth, and I ate no pleasant food. But I mourned over my sin, for it was great, such as had not been in Israel. And now hear me, my children, what things I saw concerning the 7 spirits of deceit when I repented. 7 spirits, therefore, are appointed against man, and they are the leaders in the works of youth. And 7 other spirits are given to him at his creation, that through them should be done every work of man. The first is the spirit of life, with which the constitution of man is created. The second is the sense of sight, with which ariseth desire. The third is the sense of hearing, with which cometh teaching. The fourth is the sense of smell, with which tastes are given to draw air and breath. The fifth is the power of speech, with which cometh knowledge. The sixth is the sense of taste, with which cometh the eating of meats and drinks, and by it strength is produced, for in food is the foundation of strength. The seventh is the power of procreation and sexual intercourse, with which through love of pleasure sins enter in. Wherefore it is the last in order of creation, and the first in that of youth, because it is filled with ignorance, and leadeth the youth, as a blind man, to a pit, and as a beast, to a precipice. Besides all these, there is an 8th spirit of sleep, with which is brought about the trance of nature, and the image of death. With these spirits are mingled the spirits of error. First, the spirit of fornication is seated in the nature and in the senses. The second, the spirit of insatiableness, in the belly. The third, the spirit of fighting, in the liver and gall. The fourth is the spirit of obsequiousness and chicanery, that through officious attention one may be fair in seeming. The fifth is the spirit of pride, that one may be boastful and arrogant. The sixth is the spirit of lying, in perdition and jealousy to practice deceits, and concealments from kindred and friends. The seventh is the spirit of injustice, with which are thefts and acts of rapacity, that a man may fulfill the desire of his heart. For injustice worketh together with the other spirits by the taking of gifts. And with all these the spirit of sleep is joined, which is that of error and fantasy. And so perisheth every young man, darkening his mind from the truth, and not understanding the law of God, nor obeying the admonitions of his fathers, as befell me also in my youth. And now, my children, love the truth, and it will preserve you. Hear ye the words of Reuben your father. Pay no heed to the face of a woman, nor associate with another man's wife, nor meddle with affairs of womankind. For had I not seen Bilhah bathing in a covered place, I had not fallen into this great iniquity. For my mind, taking in the thought of the woman's nakedness, suffered me not to sleep until I had wrought the abominable thing. For while Jacob our father had gone to Isaac his father, when we were in Eder, near to Ephrath in Bethlehem, Bilhah became drunk, and was asleep, uncovered in her chamber. Having therefore gone in and beheld her nakedness, I wrought the impiety without her perceiving it, and leaving her sleeping, I departed. And forthwith an angel of God revealed to my father concerning my impiety. And he came and mourned over me, and touched her no more. Pay no heed, therefore, my children, to the beauty of women, nor set your mind on their affairs, but walk in singleness of heart in the fear of the Lord, and expend labor on good works, and on study, and on your flocks, until the Lord give you a wife, whom he will, that ye suffer not as I did. For until my father's death I had not boldness to look on his face, nor to speak to any of my brethren because of the reproach. Even until now my conscience causeth me anguish on account of my impiety. And yet my father comforted me much, and prayed for me unto the Lord, that the anger of the Lord might pass from me, even as the Lord showed. And thenceforth until now I have been on my guard, and sinned not. Therefore, my children, I say unto you, observe all things whatsoever I command you, and ye shall not sin. For a pit unto the soul is the sin of fornication, separating it from God, and bringing it near to idols, because it deceiveth the mind and understanding, and leadeth down young men into Hades before their time. For many hath fornication destroyed, because though a man be old or noble, or rich or poor, he bringeth reproach upon himself with the sons of men, and derision with Beliar. For ye heard regarding Joseph, how he guarded himself from a woman, and purged his thoughts from all fornication, and found favor in the sight of God and men. For the Egyptian woman did many things unto him, and summoned magicians, and offered him love potions. But the purpose of his soul admitted no evil desire. Therefore the God of your fathers delivered him from every evil and hidden death. For if fornication overcomes not your mind, neither can Beliar overcome you. For evil are women, my children, and since they have no power or strength over man, they use wiles by outward attractions, that they may draw him to themselves. And whom they cannot bewitch by outward attractions, him they overcome by craft. For moreover, concerning them, the angel of the Lord told me and taught me, that women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men, and in their heart they plot against men, and by means of their adornment they deceive first their minds, and by the glance of the eye instill the poison, and then, through the accomplished act, they take them captive. For a woman cannot force a man openly, but by a harlot's bearing she beguiles him. Flee therefore fornication, my children, and command your wives and your daughters, that they adorn not their heads and faces to deceive the mind. Because every woman who useth these wiles hath been reserved for eternal punishment. For thus they allured the watchers who were before the flood. For as these continually beheld them, they lusted after them, and they conceived the act in their mind. For they changed themselves into the shape of men, and appeared to them when they were with their husbands. And the women lusting in their minds after their forms, gave birth to giants, for the watchers appeared to them as reaching even unto heaven. Beware therefore of fornication, and if you wish to be pure in mind, guard your senses from every woman. And command the women likewise not to associate with men, that they also may be pure in mind. For constant meetings, even though the ungodly deed be not wrought, are to them an irremediable disease, and to us a destruction of Beliar, and an eternal reproach. For in fornication there is neither understanding nor godliness, and all jealousy dwelleth in the lust thereof. Therefore then I say unto you, ye will be jealous against the sons of Levi, and will seek to be exalted over them, but ye shall not be able. For God will avenge them, and ye shall die by an evil death. For to Levi God gave the sovereignty, and to Judah with him, and to me also, and to Dan and Joseph, that we should be 4 rulers. Therefore I command you to hearken to Levi, because he shall know the law of the Lord, and shall give ordinances for judgment, and shall sacrifice for all Israel, until the consummation of the times, as the anointed high priest of whom the Lord spake. I adjure you by the God of heaven to do truth each one unto his neighbor, and to entertain love each one for his brother. And draw ye near to Levi in humbleness of heart, that ye may receive a blessing from his mouth. For he shall bless Israel and Judah, because him hath the Lord chosen to be king over all the nation. And bow down before his seed, for on our behalf it will die in wars visible and invisible, and will be among you an eternal king. And Reuben died, having given these commands to his sons. And they placed him in a coffin, until they carried him up from Egypt, and buried him in Hebron, in the cave where his father was. The copy of the words of Simeon, the things which he spake to his sons before he died, in the 120th year of his life, at which time Joseph his brother died. For when Simeon was sick, his sons came to visit him, and he strengthened himself, and sat up, and kissed them, and said, Hearken, my children, to Simeon your father, and I will declare unto you what things I have in my heart. For I was born of Jacob as my father's second son, and my mother Leah called me Simeon, because the Lord had heard her prayer. Moreover, I became strong exceedingly. I shrank from no achievement, nor was I afraid of aught, for my heart was hard, and my liver was immovable, and my bowels with compassion. Because valor also has been given from the Most High to men in soul and body. For in the time of my youth I was jealous in many things of Joseph, because my father loved him beyond all. And I set my mind against him, to destroy him, because the prince of deceit sent forth the spirit of jealousy, and blinded my mind, so that I regarded him not as a brother, nor did I spare even Jacob my father. But his God, and the God of his fathers, sent forth his angel, and delivered him out of my hands. For when I went to Shechem to bring ointment for the flocks, and Reuben to Dothan, where were our necessaries, and all our stores, Judah my brother sold him to the Ishmaelites. And when Reuben heard these things, he was grieved, for he wished to restore him to his father. But on hearing this I was exceedingly wroth against Judah, in that he let him go alive, and for 5 months I continued wrathful against him. But the Lord restrained me, and withheld me from the power of my hands, for my right hand was half withered for 7 days. And I knew, my children, that because of Joseph this had befallen me. And I repented and wept, and I besought the Lord God that my hand might be restored, and that I might hold aloof from all pollution, and envy, and from all folly. For I knew that I had devised an evil thing before the Lord, and Jacob my father, on account of Joseph my brother, in that I envied him. And now, my children, hearken unto me, and beware the spirit of deceit and envy. For envy ruleth over the whole mind of a man, and suffereth him neither to eat nor to drink, nor to do any good thing. But it ever suggesteth to him to destroy him that he envieth. And so long as he that is envied flourisheth, he that envieth fadeth away. 2 years, therefore, I afflicted my soul with fasting in the fear of the Lord, and I learned that deliverance from envy cometh by the fear of God. For if a man flee to the Lord, the evil spirit runneth away from him, and his mind is lightened. And henceforward he sympathizeth with him whom he envied, and forgiveth those who are hostile to him, and so ceaseth from his envy. And my father asked concerning me, because he saw that I was sad. And I said unto him, I am pained in my liver. For I mourned more than they all, because I was guilty of the selling of Joseph. And when we went down into Egypt, and he bound me as a spy, I knew that I was suffering justly, and I grieved not. Now Joseph was a good man, and had the Spirit of God within him. Being compassionate and pitiful, he bore no malice against me, but loved me even as the rest of his brethren. Beware, therefore, my children, of all jealousy and envy, and walk in singleness of heart, that God may give you also grace and glory, and blessing upon your heads, even as he saw in Joseph's case. All his days he reproached us not concerning this thing, but loved us as his own soul, and beyond his own sons glorified us, and gave us riches, and cattle, and fruits. Do ye also, my children, love each one his brother with a good heart, and the spirit of envy will withdraw from you. For this maketh savage the soul, and destroyeth the body. It causeth anger and war in the mind, and stirreth up unto deeds of blood, and leadeth the mind into frenzy, and causeth tumult to the soul, and trembling to the body. For even in sleep malicious jealousy gnaweth, and with wicked spirits disturbeth the soul, and causeth the body to be troubled, and waketh the mind from sleep and confusion, and as a wicked and poisonous spirit, so appeareth it to men. Therefore was Joseph comely in appearance, and goodly to look upon, because no wickedness dwelt in him. For some of the trouble of the spirit the face manifesteth. And now, my children, make your hearts good before the Lord, and your ways straight before men, and ye shall find grace before the Lord and men. Beware, therefore, of fornication, for fornication is mother of all evils, separating from God, and bringing near to Beliar. For I have seen it described in the writing of Enoch, that your sons shall be corrupted in fornication, and shall do harm to the sons of Levi with the sword. But they shall not be able to withstand Levi, for he shall wage the war of the Lord, and shall conquer all your hosts. And they shall be few in number, divided in Levi and Judah. And there shall be none of you for sovereignty, even as also our father prophesied in his blessing. Behold, I have told you all things, that I may be acquitted of your sin. Now, if ye remove from you your envy and all your stiff-neckedness, as a rose shall my bones flourish in Israel, and as a lily my flesh in Jacob, and my odor shall be as the odor of Libanus. And as cedars shall holy ones be multiplied from me forever, and their branches shall stretch afar off. Then shall perish the seed of Canaan, and a remnant shall be not unto Amalek, and all the Cappadocians shall perish, and all the Hittites shall be utterly destroyed. Then shall fail the land of Ham, and all the people shall perish. Then shall all the earth rest from trouble, and all the world under heaven from war. Then the mighty one of Israel shall glorify Shem, for the Lord God shall appear on earth, and himself save men. Then shall all the spirits of deceit be given to be trodden under foot, and men shall rule over wicked spirits. Then shall I arise in joy, and will bless the Most High because of his marvelous works, because God hath taken a body, and eaten with men, and saved men. And now, my children, obey Levi and Judah, and be not lifted up against these two tribes, for from these shall arise unto you the salvation of God. For the Lord shall raise up from Levi, as it were, a high priest, and from Judah, as it were, a king, God and man. He shall save all the Gentiles, and the race of Israel. Therefore I give you these commands, that ye also may command your children, that they may observe them throughout their generations. And when Simeon had made an end of commanding his sons, he slept with his fathers, being 120 years old. And they laid him in a wooden coffin, to take up his bones to Hebron. And they took them up secretly during a war of the Egyptians. For the bones of Joseph the Egyptians guarded in the tombs of the kings. For the sorcerers told them that on the departure of the bones of Joseph there should be throughout all the land darkness and gloom, and an exceeding great plague to the Egyptians, so that even with a lamp a man should not recognize his brother. And the sons of Simeon bewailed their father, and they were in Egypt until the day of their departure by the hand of Moses. The copy of the words of Levi, the things which he ordained unto his sons, according to all that they should do, and what things should befall them until the day of judgment. He was sound in health when he called them to him, for it had been revealed to him that he should die. And when they were gathered together, he said to them, I, Levi, was born in Haran, and I came with my father to Shechem. And I was young, about 20 years of age, when, with Simeon, I wrought vengeance on Hamor for our sister Dinah. And when I was feeding the flocks at Abel-Mahol, the spirit of understanding of the Lord came upon me. And I saw all men corrupting their way, and that unrighteousness had built for itself walls, and lawlessness sat upon towers. And I was grieving for the race of the sons of men, and I prayed to the Lord that I might be saved. Then there fell upon me a sleep, and I beheld a high mountain, and I was upon it. And behold, the heavens were opened, and an angel of God said to me, Levi, enter. And I entered from the first heaven, and I saw there a great sea hanging. And further I saw a second heaven far brighter, and more brilliant, for there was a boundless light also therein. And I said to the angel, Why is this so? And the angel said to me, Marvel not at this, for thou shalt see another heaven, more brilliant and incomparable. And when thou hast ascended thither, thou shalt stand near the Lord, and shalt be his minister, and shalt declare his mysteries to men, and shalt proclaim concerning him that shall redeem Israel. And by thee and Judah shall the Lord appear among men, saving every race of men. And from the Lord's portion shall be thy life, and he shall be thy field and vineyard, and fruits, gold and silver. Hear therefore regarding the heavens which have been shown to thee. The lowest is for this cause gloomy unto thee, in that it beholds all the unrighteous deeds of men. And it has fire, snow, and ice made ready for the day of judgment, in the righteous judgment of God. For in it are all the spirits of the retributions for vengeance on men. And in the second are the hosts of the armies, which are ordained for the day of judgment, to work vengeance on the spirits of deceit and of Beliar. And above them are the holy ones. And in the highest of all dwelleth the great glory, far above all holiness. In the heaven next to it are the archangels, who minister and make propitiation to the Lord for all the sins of ignorance of the righteous, offering to the Lord a sweet-smelling savor, a reasonable and a bloodless offering. And in the heaven below this are the angels who bear answers to the angels of the presence of the Lord. And in the heaven next to this are thrones and dominions, in which always they offer praise to God. When therefore the Lord looketh upon us, all of us are shaken, yea, the heavens and the earth, and the abysses are shaken at the presence of his majesty. But the sons of men, having no perception of these things, sin and provoke the Most High. Now therefore know that the Lord shall execute judgment upon the sons of men, because when the rocks are being rent, and the sun quenched, and the waters dried up, and the fire cowering, and all creation troubled, and the invisible spirits melting away, and Hades taketh spoils through the visitation of the Most High, men will be unbelieving and persist in their iniquity. On this account with punishment shall they be judged. Therefore the Most High hath heard thy prayer, to separate thee from iniquity, and that thou shouldest become to him a son, and a servant, and a minister of his presence. The light of knowledge shalt thou light up in Jacob, and as the sun shalt thou be to all the seed of Israel. And there shall be given to thee a blessing, and to all thy seed, until the Lord shall visit all the Gentiles in his tender mercies forever. And therefore there have been given to thee counsel and understanding, that thou mightest instruct thy sons concerning this. Because they that bless him shall be blessed, and that they that curse him shall perish. And thereupon the angel opened to me the gates of heaven, and I saw the holy temple, and upon a throne of glory the Most High. And he said to me, Levi, I have given thee the blessings of the priesthood, until I come and sojourn in the midst of Israel. Then the angel brought me down to the earth, and gave me a shield and a sword, and said to me, Execute vengeance on Shechem, because of Dinah thy sister, and I will be with thee because the Lord hath sent me. And I destroyed all that time the sons of Hamor, as it is written in the heavenly tables. And I said to him, I pray thee, O Lord, tell me thy name, that I may call upon thee in a day of tribulation. And he said, I am the angel who intercedeth for the nation of Israel, that they may not be smitten utterly, for every evil spirit attacketh it. And after these things I awaked, and blessed the Most High, and the angel who intercedeth for the nation of Israel, and for all the righteous. And when I was going to my father, I found a brazen shield, wherefore also the name of the mountain is Aspis, which is near Gebal, to the south of Abila. And I kept these words in my heart. And after this I counseled my father, and Reuben my brother, to bid the sons of Hamor not to be circumcised. For I was zealous because of the abomination which they had wrought on my sister. And I slew Shechem first, and Simeon slew Hamor. And after this my brother came and smote that city with the edge of the sword. And my father heard these things, and was wroth, and he was grieved in that they had received the circumcision, and after that had been put to death. And in his blessings he looked amiss upon us. For we sinned because we had done this thing against his will, and he was sick on that day. But I saw that the sentence of God was for evil upon Shechem, for they sought to do to Sarah and Rebekah as they had done to Dinah our sister. But the Lord prevented them. And they persecuted Abraham our father when he was a stranger, and they vexed his flocks when they were big with young. And Eblaen, who was born in his house, they most shamefully handled. And thus they did to all strangers, taking away their wives by force, and they banished them. But the wrath of the Lord came upon them to the uttermost. And I said to my father Jacob, By thee will the Lord despoil the Canaanites, and will give their land to thee, and to thy seed after thee. For from this day forward shall Shechem be called a city of imbeciles. For as a man mocketh a fool, so did we mock them, because also they had wrought folly in Israel, by defiling my sister. And we departed and came to Bethel. And there again I saw a vision as the former, after we had spent there 70 years. And I saw 7 men in white raiment, saying unto me, Arise, put on the robe of the priesthood, and the crown of righteousness, and the breastplate of understanding, and the garment of truth, and the plate of faith, and the turban of the head, and the ephod of prophecy. And they severally carried these things, and put them on me, and said unto me, From henceforth become a priest of the Lord, thou and thy seed forever. And the first anointed me with holy oil, and gave me the staff of judgment. The second washed me with pure water, and fed me with bread and wine, even the most holy things, and clad me with a holy and glorious robe. The third clothed me with a linen vestment like an ephod. The fourth put round me a girdle like unto purple. The fifth gave me a branch of rich olive. The sixth placed a crown on my head. The seventh placed on my head a diadem of priesthood, and filled my hands with incense, that I might serve as priest to the Lord God. And they said to me, Levi, thy seed shall be divided into 3 offices, for a sign of the glory of the Lord who is to come. And the first portion shall be great, yea, greater than it shall none be. The second shall be in the priesthood, and the third shall be called by a new name, because a king shall arise in Judah, and shall establish a new priesthood, after the fashion of the Gentiles. And his presence is beloved, as a prophet of the Most High, of the seed of Abraham our father. Therefore every desirable thing in Israel shall be for thee and for thy seed, and ye shall eat everything fair to look upon, and the table of the Lord shall thy seed apportion. And some of them shall be high priests, and judges, and scribes, for by their mouth shall the holy place be guarded. And when I awoke, I understood that this dream was like the first dream, and I hid it also in my heart, and told it not to any man upon the earth. And after 2 days I and Judah went up with our father Jacob to Isaac our father's father. And my father's father blessed me, according to all the words of the vision which I had seen. And he would not come with us to Bethel. And when we came to Bethel, my father saw a vision concerning me, that I should be their priest unto God. And he rose up early in the morning, and paid tithes of all to the Lord through me. And so he came to Hebron to dwell there. And Isaac called me continually to put me in remembrance of the law of the Lord, even as the angel of the Lord showed unto me. And he taught me the law of the priesthood, of sacrifices, whole burnt offerings, first fruits, freewill offerings, peace offerings. And each day he was instructing me, and was bruised on my behalf before the Lord, and said to me, Beware of the spirit of fornication, for this shall continue, and shall by thy seed pollute the holy place. Take therefore to thyself a wife without blemish or pollution, while yet thou art young, and not of the race of strange nations. And before entering into the holy place, bathe, and when thou offerest the sacrifice, wash, and again when thou finishest the sacrifice, wash. Of 12 trees having leaves, offer to the Lord, as Abram taught me also. And of every clean beast and bird, offer a sacrifice to the Lord. And of all thy first fruits, and of wine offer the first, as a sacrifice to the Lord God. And every sacrifice thou shalt salt with salt. Now therefore, observe whatever I command you, children, for whatsoever things I have heard from my fathers, I have declared unto you. And behold, I am clear from your ungodliness and transgression, which ye shall commit in the end of the ages, against the Saviour of the world, Christ, acting godlessly, deceiving Israel, and stirring up against it great evils from the Lord. And ye shall deal lawlessly together with Israel. So he shall not bear with Jerusalem because of your wickedness, but the veil of the temple shall be rent, so as not to cover your shame. And ye shall be scattered captives among the Gentiles, and shall be for a reproach and for a curse there. For the house which the Lord shall choose shall be called Jerusalem, as is contained in the book of Enoch the righteous. Therefore when I took a wife I was 28 years old, and her name was Melcha. And she conceived and bare a son, and I called his name Gershom, for we were sojourners in our land. And I saw concerning him that he would not be in the first rank. And Kohath was born in the 35th year of my life, towards sunrise. And I saw in a vision that he was standing on high in the midst of all the congregation. Therefore I called his name Kohath, which is, beginning of majesty and instruction. And she bare me a third son, in the 40th year of my life. And since his mother bare him with difficulty, I called him Merari, that is, my bitterness, because he also was like to die. And Jochebed was born in Egypt in my 64th year, for I was renowned then in the midst of my brethren. And Gershom took a wife, and she bare to him Lamni and Semi. And the sons of Kohath, Amram, Issachar, Hebron, and Oziel. And the sons of Merari, Mooli, and Mooses. And in the 94th year Amram took Jochebed my daughter to him to wife, for they were born in one day, he and my daughter. 8 years old was I when I went into the land of Canaan, and 18 years when I slew Shechem. At 19 years I became priest, and at 28 years I took a wife, and at 48 I went into Egypt. And behold, my children, ye are a third generation. In my 118th year Joseph died. And now, my children, I command you, fear the Lord your God with your whole heart, and walk in simplicity according to all his law. And do ye also teach your children letters, that they may have understanding all their life, reading unceasingly the law of God. For everyone that knoweth the law of the Lord shall be honored, and shall not be a stranger whithersoever he goeth. Yea, many friends shall he gain more than his parents, and many men shall desire to serve him, and to hear the law from his mouth. Work righteousness, therefore, my children, upon the earth, that ye may have as it as a treasure in heaven. And sow good things in your souls, that ye may find them in your life. But if ye sow evil things, ye shall reap every trouble and affliction. Get wisdom in the fear of God with diligence. For though there be a leading into captivity, and cities and lands be destroyed, and gold and silver and every possession perish, the wisdom of the wise naught can take away, save the blindness of ungodliness, and the callousness that comes from sin. For if one keep oneself from these evil things, then even among his enemies shall wisdom be a glory to him, and in a strange country a fatherland, and in the midst of foes shall prove a friend. Whosoever teaches noble things and does them shall be enthroned with kings, as was also Joseph my brother. Therefore, my children, I have learnt that at the end of the ages ye will transgress against the Lord, stretching out your hands to wickedness against him, and to all the Gentiles shall ye become a scorn. For our father Israel is pure from the transgressions of the chief priests, who shall lay their hands upon the Saviour of the world. For as the heaven is purer in the Lord's sight than the earth, so also be ye, the lights of Israel, purer than all the Gentiles. But if ye be darkened through transgressions, what therefore will all the Gentiles do, living in blindness? Yea, ye shall bring a curse upon our race, because the light of the law which was given for to lighten every man, this ye desire to destroy by teaching commandments contrary to the ordinance of God. The offerings of the Lord he shall rob, and from his portion shall ye steal choice portions, eating them contemptuously with harlots. And out of covetousness ye shall teach the commandments of the Lord. Wedded women ye pollute, and the virgins of Jerusalem shall ye defile, and with harlots and adulteresses shall ye be joined, and the daughters of the Gentiles shall ye take to wife, purifying them with an unlawful purification. And your union shall be like unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and ye shall be puffed up because of your priesthood, lifting yourselves up against men, and not only so, but also against the commands of God. And ye shall contemn the holy things with jests and laughter. Therefore the temple which the Lord shall choose shall be laid waste through your uncleanness, and ye shall be captives throughout all nations. And ye shall be an abomination unto them, and ye shall receive reproach and everlasting shame from the righteous judgment of God. And all who hate you shall rejoice at your destruction. And if you were not to receive mercy through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob our fathers, not one of your seed shall be left upon the earth. And now I have learned that for 70 weeks ye shall go astray, and profane the priesthood, and pollute the sacrifices. And ye shall make void the law, and set at naught the words of the prophets by evil perverseness. And ye shall persecute righteous men, and hate the godly. The words of the faithful shall ye abhor. And the man who reneweth the law in the power of the Most High ye shall call a deceiver. And at last ye shall rush upon him to slay him, not knowing his dignity, taking innocent blood through your wickedness upon your heads. And your holy places shall be laid waste, even to the ground, because of him. And ye shall have no place that is clean, but ye shall be among the Gentiles a curse, and a dispersion, until he shall again visit you, and in pity shall receive you through faith and water. And whereas ye have heard concerning the 70 weeks, hear also concerning the priesthood. For in each jubilee there shall be a priesthood. And in the first jubilee, the first who is anointed to the priesthood shall be great, and shall speak to God as to a father. And his priesthood shall be perfect with the Lord, and in the day of his gladness shall he arise for the salvation of the world. In the second jubilee, he that is anointed shall be conceived in the sorrow of beloved ones, and his priesthood shall be honored and shall be glorified by all. And the third priest shall be taken hold of by sorrow, and the fourth shall be in pain, because unrighteousness shall gather itself against him exceedingly, and all Israel shall hate one another for his neighbor. The fifth shall be taken hold of by darkness, likewise also the sixth and the seventh. And in the seventh shall be such pollution as I cannot express before men, for they shall know it who do these things. Therefore shall they be taken captive, and become a prey, and their land and their substance shall be destroyed. And in the 5th week they shall return to their desolate country, and shall renew the house of the Lord. And in the 7th week shall become priests who are idolaters, adulterers, lovers of money, proud, lawless, lascivious, abusers of children and beasts. And after their punishment shall come from the Lord, the priesthood shall fail. Then shall the Lord raise up a new priest, and to him all the words of the Lord shall be revealed, and he shall execute a righteous judgment upon the earth for a multitude of days. And his star shall arise in heaven as of a king, lighting up the light of knowledge, as the sun the day, and he shall be magnified in the world. He shall shine forth as the sun on the earth, and shall remove all darkness from under heaven. And there shall be peace in all the earth. The heavens shall exult in his day, and the earth shall be glad, and the clouds shall rejoice. And the knowledge of the Lord shall be poured forth upon the earth, as the water of the seas. And the angels of the glory of the presence of the Lord shall be glad in him. The heavens shall be opened, and from the temple of glory shall come upon him sanctification, with the Father's voice, as from Abraham to Isaac. And the glory of the Most High shall be uttered over him, and the spirit of understanding and sanctification shall rest upon him in the water. For he shall give the majesty of the Lord to his sons, in truth forevermore. And there shall none succeed him for all generations forever. And in his priesthood the Gentiles shall be multiplied in knowledge upon the earth, and enlightened through the grace of the Lord. In his priesthood shall sin come to an end, and the lawless shall cease to do evil. And he shall open the gates of paradise, and shall remove the threatening sword against Adam. He shall give to the saints to eat from the tree of life, and the spirit of holiness shall be on them. And Beliar shall be bound by him, and he shall give power to his children to tread upon the evil spirits. And the Lord shall rejoice in his children, and be well pleased in his beloved ones forever. Then shall Abraham and Isaac and Jacob exult, and I will be glad, and all the saints shall clothe themselves with joy. And now, my children, ye have heard all. Choose therefore for yourselves either the light or the darkness, either the law of the Lord or the works of Beliar. And his sons answered him, saying, Before the Lord we will walk according to his law. And the father said unto them, The Lord is witness, and his angels are witnesses, and ye are witnesses, and I am witness concerning the word of your mouth. And his sons said unto him, We are witnesses. And thus Levi ceased commanding his sons, and he stretched out his feet on the bed, and was gathered to his fathers after he had lived 137 years. And they laid him in a coffin, and afterwards they buried him in Hebron with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The copy of the words of Judah, what things he spake to his sons before he died. They gathered themselves together therefore, and came to him, and he said to them, Hearken, my children, to Judah your father. I was the fourth son born to my father Jacob, and Leah my mother named me Judah, saying, I give thanks to the Lord, because he hath given me a fourth son also. I was swift in my youth, and obedient to my father in everything. And I honored my mother, and my mother's sister. And it came to pass, when I became a man, that my father blessed me, saying, Thou shalt be a king, prospering in all things. And the Lord showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. I know that I raced a hind, and caught it, and prepared the meat for my father, and he did eat. And the roes I used to master in the chase, and overtake all that was in the plains. A wild mare I overtook, and caught it, and tamed it. I slew a lion, and plucked a kid out of its mouth. I took a bear by its paw, and hurled it down the cliff, and it was crushed. I outran the wild boar, and seizing it as I ran, I tore it in sunder. A leopard in Hebron leaped upon my dog, and I caught it by the tail, and hurled it on the rocks, and it was broken in twain. I found a wild ox feeding in the fields, and seizing it by the horns, and whirling it round and stunning it, I cast it from me, and slew it. And when the two kings of the Canaanites came, sheathed in armor against our flocks, and much people with them, single-handed I rushed upon the king of Hazor, and smote him on the greaves, and dragged him down, and so I slew him. And the other, the king of Tapua, as he sat upon his horse, I slew, and so I scattered all his people. Achor, the king, a man of giant stature, I found, hurling javelins before and behind as he sat on horseback. And I took up a stone of 60 pounds weight, and hurled it, and smote his horse, and killed it. And I fought with this other for 2 hours, and I clave his shield in twain, and I chopped off his feet, and killed him. And as I was stripping off his breastplate, behold, 9 men, his companions, began to fight with me. And I wound my garment on my hand, and I slung stones at them, and killed 4 of them, and the rest fled. And Jacob my father slew Beelasath, king of all the kings, a giant in stature, 12 cubits high. And fear fell upon them, and they ceased warring against us. Therefore my father was free from anxiety in the wars when I was with my brethren. For he saw in a vision concerning me, that an angel of might followed me everywhere, that I should not be overcome. And in the south there came upon us a greater war than that in Shechem. And I joined in battle array with my brethren, and pursued 1,000 men, and slew of them 200 men, and 4 kings. And I went up upon the wall, and I slew 40 mighty men. And so we captured Hazor, and took all the spoil. And the next day we departed to Aratan, a city strong and walled, and inaccessible, threatening us with death. But I and Gad approached on the east side of the city, and Reuben and Levi on the west. And they that were upon the wall, thinking that we were alone, were drawn down against us. And so my brothers secretly climbed up the wall on both sides by stakes, and entered the city, while the men knew it not. And we took it with the edge of the sword. And as for those who had taken refuge in the tower, we set fire to the tower, and took both it and them. And as we were departing, the men of Tapua seized our spoil, and seeing this we fought with them, and we slew them all, and recovered our spoil. And when I was at the waters of Kozeba, the men of Jobel came against us to battle, and we fought with them, and routed them. And their allies from Shiloh we slew, and we did not leave them power to come in against us. And the men of Machir came upon us the 5th day, to seize our spoil, and we attacked them, and overcame them in fierce battle. For there was a host of mighty men amongst them, and we slew them before they had gone up to the ascent. And when we came to their city, their women rolled upon us stones from the brow of the hill on which the city stood. And I and Simeon had ourselves behind the town, and seized upon the heights, and destroyed this city also. And the next day it was told us that the king of the city of Gaash with a mighty host was coming against us. I therefore and Dan feigned ourselves to be Amorites, and as allies we went into their city. And in the depth of night our brethren came, and we opened to them the gates, and we destroyed all the men, and their substance, and we took for a prey all that was theirs. And their 3 walls we cast down, and we drew near to Thamnah, where was all the substance of the hostile kings. Then being insulted by them, I was therefore wroth, and rushed against them to the summit. And they kept slinging against me stones and darts. And had not Dan my brother aided me, they would have slain me. We came upon them, therefore, with wrath, and they all fled. And passing by another way, they besought my father, and he made peace with them. And we did to them no hurt. And they became tributary to us, and we restored to them their spoil. And I built Thamnah, and my father built Pabael. I was 20 years old when this war befell, and the Canaanites feared me and my brethren. And I had much cattle, and I had for chief herdsman Iram the Adulamite. And when I went to him, I saw Parseba, king of Adullam, and he spake unto us, and he made us a feast. And when I was heated, he gave me his daughter Bathshua to wife. She bare me and Onan, and Shelah. And two of them the Lord smote, for Shelah lived, and his children are ye. And 18 years my father abode in peace with his brother Esau, and his sons with us. After that we came from Mesopotamia, from Laban. And when 18 years were fulfilled, in the 40th year of my life, Esau, the brother of my father, came upon us with a mighty and strong people. And Jacob smote Esau with an arrow, and he was taken up wounded on Mount Seir. And as he went, he died in Adullam. And we pursued after the sons of Esau. Now they had a city with walls of iron and gates of brass, and we could not enter into it, and we encamped around and besieged it. And when they had opened not to us in 20 days, I set up a ladder in the sight of all, and with my shield upon my head I went up, sustaining the assault of stones, upward of 3 talents weight, and I slew 4 of the mighty men. And Reuben and Gad slew 6 others. Then they asked from us terms of peace, and having taken counsel with our father, we received them as tributaries. And they gave us 500 cores of wheat, 500 baths of oil, 500 measures of wine, until the famine, when we went down into Egypt. And after these things my son took to wife Tamar from Mesopotamia, a daughter of Aram. Now was wicked, and he was in need concerning Tamar, because she was not of the land of Canaan. And on the 3rd night an angel of the Lord smote him, and he had not known her, according to the evil craftiness of his mother, for he did not wish to have children by her. In the days of the wedding feast I gave Onan to her in marriage, and he also in wickedness knew her not, though he spent with her for a year. And when I threatened him, he went in unto her, but he spilled the seed on the ground, according to the command of his mother, and he also died through wickedness. And I wished to give Shelah also to her, but his mother did not permit it, for she wrought evil against Tamar, because she was not of the daughters of Canaan, as she also herself was. And I knew that the race of the Canaanites was wicked, but the impulse of youth blinded my mind. And when I saw her pouring out wine, owing to the intoxication of wine, I was deceived, and took her, although my father had not counseled it. And while I was away, she went and took for Shelah a wife from Canaan. And when I knew what she had done, I cursed her in the anguish of my soul. And she also died through her wickedness, together with her sons. And after these things, while Tamar was a widow, she heard after 2 years that I was going up to shear my sheep, and adorned herself in bridal array, and sat in the city Anaim, by the gate. For it was a law of the Amorites, that she who was about to marry should sit in fornication 7 days by the gate. Therefore, being drunk with wine, I did not recognize her, and her beauty deceived me, through the fashion of her adorning. And I turned aside to her, and said, Let me go in unto thee. And she said, What wilt thou give me? And I gave her my staff, and my girdle, and the diadem of my kingdom in pledge. And I went in unto her, and she conceived. And not knowing what I had done, I wished to slay her, but she privily sent my pledges, and put me to shame. And when I called her, I heard also the secret words, which I spoke when lying with her, in my drunkenness. And I could not slay her, because it was from the Lord. For I said, Lest haply she did it subtly, having received a pledge from another woman. But I came not again near her while I lived, because I had done this abomination in all Israel. Moreover, they who were in the city said there was no harlot in the gate, because she came from another place, and sat for a while in the gate. And I thought that no one knew that I had gone into her. And after this we came into Egypt to Joseph because of the famine. And I was 46 old, and 73 years lived I in Egypt. And now I command you, my children, hearken to Judah your father, and keep my sayings, to perform all the ordinances of the Lord, and to obey the commands of God, and walk not after your lusts, nor in the imaginations of your thoughts, in haughtiness of heart, and glory not in the deeds and strength of your youth, for this also is evil in the eyes of the Lord. Since I also gloried that in wars no comely woman's face ever enticed me, and reproved Reuben my brother concerning Bilhah, the wife of my father, the spirits of jealousy and of fornication arrayed themselves against me, until I lay with Bathshua the Canaanite, and Tamar, who was espoused to my sons. For I said to my father-in-law, I will take counsel with my father, and so will I take thy daughter. And he was unwilling, but he showed me a boundless store of gold in his daughter's behalf, for he was a king. And he adorned her with gold and pearls, and caused her to pour out wine for us at the feast, with the beauty of women. And the wine turned aside my eyes, and pleasure blinded my heart. And I became enamored, and I lay with her, and transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and the commandment of my fathers, and I took her to wife. And the Lord rewarded me according to the imagination of my heart, inasmuch as I had no joy in her children. And now, my children, I say unto you, be not drunk with wine, for wine turneth the mind away from the truth, and inspires the passion of lust, and leadeth the eyes into error. For the spirit of fornication hath wine as a minister, to give pleasure to the mind. For these two also take away the mind of a man. For if a man drink wine to drunkenness, it disturbeth the mind with filthy thoughts, leading to fornication, and heateth the body to carnal union. And if the occasion of the lust be present, he worketh the sin, and is not ashamed. Such is the inebriated man, my children. For he who is drunken reverenceth no man. For lo, it made me also to err, so that I was not ashamed of the multitude in the city, in that before the eyes of all I turned aside unto Tamar. And I wrought a great sin, and I uncovered the covering of my son's shame. After I had drunk wine, I reverenced not the commandment of God, and I took a woman of Canaan to wife. For much discretion needeth the man who drinketh wine, my children, and herein is discretion in drinking wine. A man may drink so long as he preserveth modesty, but if he go beyond this limit, the spirit of deceit attacketh his mind, and it maketh the drunkard to talk filthily, and to transgress, and not to be ashamed, but even to glory in his shame, and to account himself honorable. He that committeth fornication is not aware when he suffers loss, and is not ashamed when put to dishonor. For even though a man be a king, and commit fornication, he is stripped of his kingship by becoming the slave of fornication, as I myself also suffered. For I gave my staff, that is, the stay of my tribe, and my girdle, that is my power, and my diadem, that is the glory of my kingdom. And indeed, I repented of these things. Wine and flesh I eat not until my old age, nor did I behold any joy. And the angel of God showed me that forever do women bear rule over king and beggars alike. And from the king they take away his glory, and from the valiant man his might, and from the beggar even that little which is the stay of his poverty. Observe therefore, my children, the right limit in wine, for there are in it 4 evil spirits, of lust, of hot desire, of profligacy, of filthy lucre. If ye drink wine in gladness, be ye modest in the fear of God. For if in your gladness the fear of God departeth, then drunkenness ariseth, and shamelessness stealeth in. But if ye would live soberly, do not touch wine at all, lest ye sin in words of outrage, and in fightings and slanders, and transgressions of the commandments of God, and ye perish before your time. Moreover, wine revealeth the mysteries of God and men, even as I also revealed the commandments of God, and the mysteries of Jacob my father, to the Canaanitish woman Bathshua, which God bade me not to reveal. And wine is a cause both of war and confusion. And now I command you, my children, not to love money, nor to gaze upon the beauty of women, because for the sake of money and beauty I was led astray to Bathshua the Canaanite. For I know that because of these two things shall my race fall into wickedness. For even wise men among my sons shall they mar, and shall cause the kingdom of Judah to be diminished, which the Lord gave me because of my obedience to my father. For I never caused grief to Jacob my father, for all things whatsoever he commanded me, I did. And Isaac, the father of my father, blessed me to be king in Israel, and Jacob further blessed me in like manner. And I know that from me shall the kingdom be established, and I know what evils ye will do in the last days. Beware therefore, my children, of fornication and the love of money, and hearken to Judah your father. For these things withdraw you from the law of God, and blind the inclination of the soul, and teach arrogance, and suffer not a man to have compassion upon his neighbor. They rob his soul of all goodness, and oppress him with toils and troubles, and drive away sleep from him, and devour his flesh. And he hindereth the sacrifices of God, and he remembereth not the blessing of God. He hearkeneth not to a prophet when he speaketh, and resenteth the words of godliness. For he is a slave to two contrary passions, and cannot obey God, because they have blinded his soul, and he walketh in the day as in the night. My children, the love of money leadeth to idolatry, because, when led astray through money, men name as gods those who are not gods, and it causeth him who hath it to fall into madness. For the sake of money I lost my children, and had not my repentance and my humiliation and the prayers of my father been accepted, I should have died childless. But the God of my fathers had mercy on me, because I did it in ignorance. And the prince of deceit blinded me, and I sinned as a man and as flesh, being corrupted through sins. And I learnt my own weakness, while thinking myself invincible. Know therefore, my children, that two spirits wait upon man, the spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. And in the midst is the spirit of understanding of the mind, to which it belongeth to turn whithersoever it will. And works of truth and the works of deceit are written upon the hearts of men, and each one of them the Lord knoweth. And there is no time at which the works of men can be hid, for on the heart itself have they been written down before the Lord. And the Spirit of truth testifieth all things, and accuseth all. And the sinner is burnt up by his own heart, and cannot raise his face to the judge. And now, my children, I command you, love Levi, that ye may abide, and exalt not yourselves against him, lest ye be utterly destroyed. For to me the Lord gave the kingdom, and to him the priesthood, and he set the kingdom beneath the priesthood. To me he gave the things upon the earth, to him the things in the heavens. As the heaven is higher than the earth, so is the priesthood of God higher than the earthly kingdom, unless it falls away through sin from the Lord and is dominated by the earthly kingdom. For the angel of the Lord said unto me, The Lord chose him rather than thee, to draw near to him, and to eat of his table, and to offer him the firstfruits of the choice things of the sons of Israel. But thou shalt be king of Jacob. Thou shalt be amongst them as the sea. For as on the sea, just and unjust are tossed about, some taken into captivity, while some are enriched. So also shall every race of men be in thee. Some shall be impoverished, being taken captive, and others grow rich by plundering the possessions of others. For the kings shall be as sea monsters. They shall swallow men like fishes. The sons and daughters of freemen shall they enslave. Houses, lands, flocks, money shall they plunder, and with the flesh of many shall they wrongfully feed the ravens and the cranes. And they shall advance in evil, and covetousness uplifted. And there shall be false prophets like tempest, and they shall persecute all righteous men. And the Lord shall bring upon them divisions one against another. And there shall be continual wars in Israel. And among men of another race shall my kingdom be brought to an end, until the salvation of Israel shall come, until the appearing of the God of righteousness, that Jacob and all the Gentiles may rest in peace. And he shall guard the might of my kingdom forever. For the Lord sware to me with an oath that he would not destroy the kingdom from my seed forever. Now I have much grief, my children, because of your lewdness and witchcrafts and idolatries which ye shall practice against the kingdom, following them that have familiar spirits, diviners, and demons of error. Ye shall make your daughters singing girls and harlots, and ye shall mingle in the abominations of the Gentiles. For which things' sake the Lord shall bring upon you famine and pestilence, death and the sword, beleaguering by enemies, and reviling of friends, the slaughter of children, the rape of wives, the plundering of possessions, the burning of the temple of God, the laying waste of the land, the enslavement of yourselves among the Gentiles. And they shall make some of you eunuchs for their wives, until the Lord visit you, when with perfect heart ye repent, and walk in all his commandments, and he bring you up from captivity among the Gentiles. And after these things shall a star arise to you from Jacob in peace, and a man shall arise from my seed, like the Son of Righteousness, walking with the sons of men, in meekness and righteousness. And no sin shall be found in him, and the heavens shall be opened unto him, to pour out the Spirit, even the blessing of the Holy Father. And he shall pour out the Spirit of grace upon you. And ye shall be unto him sons in truth, and ye shall walk in his commandments, first and last. Then shall the scepter of my kingdom shine forth, and from your root shall arise a stem, and from it shall grow a rod of righteousness to the Gentiles, to judge and to save all that call upon the Lord. And after these things shall Abraham and Isaac and Jacob arise unto life, and I and my brethren shall be chiefs of the tribes of Israel. Levi first, I the second, Joseph third, Benjamin fourth, Simeon fifth, Issachar sixth, and so all in order. And the Lord blessed Levi, and the angel of the presence me, the powers of glory Simeon, the heaven Reuben, the earth Issachar, the sea Zebulun, the mountains Joseph, the tabernacle Benjamin, the luminaries Dan, Eden Naphtali, the sun Gad, the moon Asher. And ye shall be the people of the Lord, and have one tongue, and there shall be there no spirit of deceit of Beliar, for he shall be cast into the fire forever. And they who have died in grief shall arise in joy, And they who were poor for the Lord's sake shall be made rich, and they who are put to death for the Lord's sake shall awake to life. And the hearts of Jacob shall run in joyfulness, and the eagles of Israel shall fly in gladness, and all the people shall glorify the Lord forever. Observe therefore, my children, all the law of the Lord, for there is hope for all them who hold fast unto his ways. And he said to them, Behold, I die before your eyes this day, 119 years old. Let no one bury me in costly apparel, nor tear open my bowels. For this shall they who are kings do, and carry me up to Hebron with you. And Judah, when he had said these things, fell asleep, and his sons did according to all whatsoever he commanded them. And they buried him in Hebron with his fathers. The copy of the words of Issachar. For he called his sons, and said to them, Hearken, my children, to Issachar your father. Give ear to the words of him who is beloved of the Lord. I was born the 5th son to Jacob, by way of hire for the mandrakes. For Reuben my brother brought in mandrakes from the field, and Rachel met him and took them. And Reuben wept, and at his voice Leah my mother came forth. Now these mandrakes were sweet-smelling apples, which were produced in the land of Haran, below a ravine of water. And Rachel said, I will not give them to thee, but they shall be to me instead of children. For the Lord hath despised me, and I have not borne children to Jacob. Now there were 2 apples, and Leah said to Rachel, Let it suffice thee that thou hast taken my husband. Wilt thou take these also? And Rachel said to her, Thou shalt have Jacob this night, for the mandrakes of thy son. And Leah said to her, Jacob is mine, for I am the wife of his youth. But Rachel said, Boast not, and vaunt not thyself, for he espoused me before thee, and for my sake he served our father 14 years. And had not craft increased on the earth, and the wickedness of men prospered, thou wouldst not now see the face of Jacob. For thou art not his wife, but in craft were taken to him in my stead. And my father deceived me, and removed me on that night, and did not suffer Jacob to see me. For had I been there, this had not happened to him. Nevertheless, for the mandrakes I am hiring Jacob to thee for 1 night. And Jacob knew Leah, and she conceived, and bare me. And on account of the hire I was called Issachar. Then appeared to Jacob an angel of the Lord, saying, 2 children shall Rachel bear, inasmuch as she hath refused company with her husband, and hath chosen continency. And had not Leah my mother paid the 2 apples for the sake of his company, she would have borne 8 sons. For this reason she bare 6, and Rachel bare the 2. For on account of the mandrakes the Lord visited her. For he knew that for the sake of children she wished to company with Jacob, and not for lust of pleasure. For on the morrow also she again gave up Jacob. Because of the mandrakes, therefore, the Lord hearkened to Rachel. For though she desired them, she ate them not, but offered them in the house of the Lord, presenting them to the priest of the Most High, who was at that time. When therefore I grew up, my children, I walked in uprightness of heart, and I became a husbandman for my father and for my brethren. And I brought in fruits from the field, according to their season. And my father blessed me, for he saw that I walked in rectitude before him. But I was not a busybody in my doings, nor envious and malicious against my neighbor. I never slandered anyone, nor did I censure the life of any man, walking as I did in singleness of eye. Therefore, when I was 35 years old, I took to myself a wife, for my labor wore away my strength, and I never thought upon pleasure with women. But owing to my toil, sleep overcame me. And my father always rejoiced in my rectitude, because I offered through the priest to the Lord all firstfruits, then to my father also. And the Lord increased 10,000-fold his benefits in my hands. And also Jacob, my father, knew that God aided my singleness. For on all the poor and oppressed I bestowed the good things of the earth, in the singleness of my heart. And now, hearken to me, my children, and walk in singleness of your heart, for I have seen in it all that is well-pleasing to the Lord. The single-minded man coveteth not gold, nor overreacheth not his neighbor. He longeth not after manifold dainties. He delighteth not in varied apparel. He doth not desire to live a long life, but only waiteth for the will of God. And the spirits of deceit have no power against him, for he looketh not on the beauty of women, lest he should pollute his mind with corruption. There is no envy in his thoughts. No malicious person maketh his soul to pine away, nor worry with insatiable desire in his mind. For he walketh in singleness of soul, and beholdeth all things in uprightness of heart, shunning eyes made evil through the error of the world, lest he should see the perversion of any of the commandments of the Lord. Keep therefore, my children, the law of God, and get singleness, and walk in guilelessness, not playing the busybody with the business of your neighbor, but love the Lord and your neighbor. Have compassion on the poor and weak. Bow down your back unto husbandry, and toil in labors in all manner of husbandry, offering gifts to the Lord with thanksgiving. For with the first fruits of the earth will the Lord bless you, even as he blessed all the saints, from Abel even unto now. For no other portion is given to you than of the fatness of the earth, whose fruits are raised by toil. For our father Jacob blessed me with blessings of the earth and of first fruits. And Levi and Judah were glorified by the Lord, even among the sons of Jacob. For the Lord gave them an inheritance, and to Levi he gave the priesthood, and to Judah the kingdom. And do ye therefore obey them, and walk in the singleness of your father. For unto Gad hath it been given to destroy the troops that are coming upon Israel. Know ye therefore, my children, that in the last times your sons will forsake singleness, and will cleave unto insatiable desire, and leaving guilelessness, will draw near to malice, and forsaking the commandments of the Lord, they will cleave unto Beliar. And leaving husbandry, they will follow after their own wicked devices, and they shall be dispersed among the Gentiles, and shall serve their enemies. And do you therefore give these commands to your children, that, if they sin, they may the more quickly return to the Lord, for he is merciful, and will deliver them, even to bring them back into their land. Behold therefore, as ye see, I am 126 years